Hi, this is Rachel Bixby, the Sensory Alchemist. Grab your tea, pull up a chair, and I'll let you in on a little secret. Today we're going to talk about the eclipse and use that as a metaphor for something called predictive processing in the brain, which has a lot to do with how we maintain our system in homeostasis and regulate to keep all of our systems working together and communicating. In my pictures that I took just from my phone when I got up to look at the eclipse myself, over the course of time, you can see a bright white full moon shift to a partially red with a crescent of white, and to finally a fuzzy red moon, which can be, although amazing to behold, a little bit unnerving, and because there are things in life that we take for granted that stay the same, and when they change, it upends the way that our world is constructed. And in ancient times, people feared bad omens with the eclipse, and some people still do. Though it's really just changes. So the better we can handle change, the more that we can maintain our balance and our sure footing in times of transition. So how does our brain and our heart accommodate these shifting realities? About 2,500 years ago, Siddhartha Gautama, also known as Buddha or the Enlightened One, had some recommendations for this. One of them is to watch those fluctuations with equanimity, which is to not react, to not think of it as a good thing, not think of it as a bad thing, just think of it as a different thing, and to move forward fluidly. Of course, this is much harder than it sounds, and that's why there is a practice to bring this down to earth, this concept, and it is using your body and its sensations to track change. So in Vipassana or insight meditation, you focus your attention starting at the top of your head, and any sensation. You're not looking for any cities or magical powers. It's just heat, pressure, itch, pain, anything at all. And you keep it moving. You don't park anywhere where you're extra interested or you really want to make progress, try to accomplish something. And you don't avoid any areas that maybe it gives you a bad sense, or you'd rather not. But you just keep moving, and then you get the idea that everything passes. It comes, it goes. You like it, you don't like it. It's all just grist for the mill. And oftentimes the thing you liked maybe wasn't the best, and the thing you were hoping for creates more problems. So you really just can't tell, but we can't help ourselves from making predictions. So why track body senses? We can't know for sure why Buddha chose this, but through practice and awareness, he was able to construct this system that is really rather effective. It has survived so many years, and people are still benefiting from this practice. Well, we can explain it more logically these days, which you don't need a logical understanding, but it can be helpful for some to understand how the mechanism works. Our 5 senses that we generally think of, 4 of them are primarily taking in the outside world into our perceptions. So vision, the objects outside, come into our personal field. listening, sound waves come in. Also, your body sense is a little more of a inside sense, but they go together. Smelling, obviously, tasting, but that last one, touch, is much more than we really think of when it comes down to it. You can think of it as something from the outside pressing, or that you're feeling a chemical change, a temperature change, kind of a little tickly feeling. Those are different touch sensations. But come to find out, they are measuring what pressure does inside the body as well. And it turns out that our cells, all the way down to the nucleus, and throughout the cell and the cell bodies and in between cells, there's a matrix that creates a cytoskeleton. It's made of connective tissue or fascia, which you may have heard of, and it connects all the way from deep in the bones and everything in between, all the way out to the skin. And when it is deformed, so it's made of a matrix, like so crystalline, very geometrical patterns, and when it's compressed or deformed, it sends a signal, an electrical signal, which is called piezoelectricity. So that happens in your phone. The crystal in your phone takes the mechanical sound waves and changes them to electricity. Same with your toothbrush, the ultrasonic waves that come out. The electricity is passed through a crystal. So our bodies, our whole body, does the same thing. And that flow of electrons and the flow of the extracellular fluid, intracellular fluid, lymph, that all gets picked up in your brain through sensory nerves. So they're heavily innervated with sensory nerves, and it tells your body the state of affairs. So that is one way that we're able to tell if we're in a good environment, if something's going on in our body that isn't ideal, that we need to protect and defend against. There's a back and forth, and it's more of a gestalt in the fascial system because the whole thing shifts together. So everything is moving. If you can imagine, like kind of erector set where things are, but they would be suspended in fluid. So everything kind of moves together. So it's very interesting. It's very new, and you will see research on this process in every field of, well, engineering for one, but in medical terms, from cancer research, cardiopulmonary research, muscular, everything. So, it's very exciting. And that is something that we have control of. And it's very low tech. So even though it's high tech to discover this principle, we all have access to pressure and touch and awareness. So, that's pretty exciting. So as I said, the sensations of pressure, temperature, tickle, itch, and temperature. I think I got, pain, sorry. Pain, they all move together in a common nerve tract and go to a particular part of the brain that is separate from other sorts of sensations. And they play a key role in perception of safety and survival. So they combine with the sensations from your vestibular system for positional sense and movement sense, with the vagus nerve, which tells you about the state of your organs, and also facial and throat information and control, and also with memory, particularly emotional memory. So forming correlations to previous events so that you can tell, is this something that I like, something that I really don't like? Am I going to get hurt? Will I benefit? Things like that. So we need this. This is called predictive processing of the brain, and we need this to learn. Those are important things so that we know which berries are safe, which are poisonous, where the best soil is for planting, things that help us thrive in the environment. But there can be too much of a good thing. So as we discussed last time, balance is key. So if you are overly predictive in the way that you live your life, it can make you very fearful. It can make you very angry. If you think you know how something will turn out before it happens. So it becomes a burden, this particular quality of mind. So at a certain point, if you've had either a lot of tension and stress or trauma, or after so many decades on the planet, you have a lot of perceptions about how things are. Sometimes you have to unlearn a little bit to match the environment you find yourself currently in. And this takes some work. So that's where the practice of meditation can be helpful, to kind of sift through your emotions, your experiences, your perceptions, which come through sensation, and kind of separate the grist from the mill. So it's kind of the responsible thing to do. Now, most of us, it's not at the top of our list of chores to do this, but after an imbalance makes itself known, then it gets your attention, and you realize that's often a recommendation. Maybe meditation would be helpful, and this is one way to look at how it works. You may have heard that in the monk study in Madison, Wisconsin, that the prefrontal cortex lit up in very experienced meditators, that is Buddhist monks, and that is a place, especially on the left, that promotes a sense of calm and happiness, and it's in the executive area. So you think about the executive suites, usually at the top level of the building, so it's the top of the brain, where you have more decision making ability and discernment. And so oftentimes meditation benefits are explained as more as a cognitive function, that you are training your brain to focus in particular ways that bring more control, which is true. But the part that generally doesn't get talked about as much is the actual sensory experience and shifting the way that you predict outcomes based on what those sensations are associated with in your history. So in that sense, it's a bottom-up process. So it's partially top-down. You actually have to sit there and make yourself do it, stick with it and bear it through. But it's actually the rising up of the sensations and the passing that helps you realize that things change, that things naturally change, and that some of the things that maybe you were avoiding you can allow, and you can allow them to become digested and pass away. You won't hold on to it anymore. And it's kind of like going through your body and disabling landmines, from long ago. So they're all, in there, and you're just kind of defusing them, and so that you're not reacting, you're not overreacting to things, you're not underreacting to things. You're just kind of in that nice stable center so that you have access to that executive function high up in the brain. So, and in alchemizing pain and trauma to improve health and balance and regulation in the body, it's involves slowing down so that your reaction is long enough for you to notice and shift the meaning, or at least be able to accept it. This process is a purge, both literally and figuratively. These held in and repressed emotional patterns have a physical component and are generated from physical body and its sensations. And during this eclipse time, you may have noticed a purging within yourself and others, within my sphere of people that I interact with. There has been, since I work with the bodies, the physical is what I'm hearing. And so there's the kind of a weeping of emotionally, so actual your eyes, but respiratory issues, so the sinuses draining and the lungs, bringing up things from the lungs, mucus coming out, ears draining, liver and bowel issues, more, I hate to say volatility, I don't want it to be gross, but that's what purging is. Kidneys and bladder changes, even reproductive flow, so flow issues. So it's a blood moon. There's every which way that the body purges. A lot of people are talking about their body doing this this type of thing. And also in your life, you might find yourself wanting to clean out the closets, get rid of stuff, tidy things, disassociate from different groups or people that are draining to you. This is very natural things as we are transitioning and things are changing. So it's actually good to kind of clear out physically, mentally, emotionally, so that as new things come in, you are prepared and ready to deal with the new environment and what is in front of you. See if you can allow this eclipse shadow period to help you alchemize what's old in your life. Clean out the dross of your mind, body, and spirit, and try not to judge any of the discomfort as good or bad. Try to abstain from predicting exactly the outcome of what's happening and stay in the moment. And as the world does its purging, try to notice and savor the small daily sensations that make you feel calm and warm and safe. Like your nice warm beverage. And see if you can restore that childlike wonder.